This one is like the definition of it's just a prank and then the prank.
It's harmful.
Yeah. Am I the asshole for telling my wife that she needs to get over being upset with me for pulling a scare prank on our son? Last Friday, I, 37 male, was hanging out with my daughter, 10 female, watching a movie. My wife, 34 female, was working late while our son, 9 male, was hanging out with his friend. Around 8 p.m., his friend's mom texted me letting me know that she was driving him home. I thanked her and then I let my daughter know that her brother was on his way. She then suggested that we play a prank on him in which we jump out and scare him. I thought it would be a funny practical joke and, long story short, she and I ended up putting on scary Halloween masks, dimming the lights, and hiding behind a couch. I then texted his friend's mom and told her that his sister and I were watching a movie and to send him to the family room downstairs when he got home. He got home and came in. We heard him come in and say hello and then come down the stairs. When he got close, we jumped out at him and shouted. Now, here's where I fully admit I messed up. I thought he'd just be startled for a second and then would laugh with us over the prank, but that's not what happened. We ended up frightening him way more than I'd anticipated. He first started running off and then ended up having a huge trembling, crying adrenaline dump for a long time. I felt really bad and so did his sister. His mother came home not long after and ended up sitting with him, hugging and comforting him. Naturally, she wasn't amused by my antics, which I understood because, again, I screwed up. However, she has stayed mad at me for all these days afterwards. She will barely talk to me. I eventually got tired of it and told her that she needed to get over it. I screwed up, but I didn't mean any harm. I just way underestimated how much our prank would scare our son. I also think that our daughter is seeing how she is treating me over it and is being made to feel way too bad over her idea that was just playful, not bad-natured. But she just says that I should have known better and won't seem to forgive me. I get it, she's always been a complete mama bear, but it's not as if I don't love our kids too. Was my prank honestly so beyond that pale that I deserve to keep being punished over it? This prank is bad.
Yeah.
A 9-year-old child walking into what I picture as a dark house.
Yeah.
And going downstairs in the basement or whatever, if he had to go downstairs to get to this family room, and then seeing multiple people jump out in masks.
Yeah.
9 years old? That's bad.
Yeah.
That is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would be one thing if it was the middle of the day and it was, like, around Halloween.
Right.
And it was, like, one person for 1 second. But, like, that's so traumatic.
Yeah. That's very scary. I was afraid of my basement growing up, and I didn't even have that happen to me.
Yeah. That's so bad.
Aww.
I mean, I guess the mom is like, how many times do you want to, yell at your husband?
Yeah.
And how many times do you want him to say sorry? So I guess, like, she needs to allow him to say sorry and she needs to take time to accept that. But,
right.
I mean, that's really bad.
I also feel like she needs to be aware of how it's affecting their daughter.
Yeah.
Like, if she's feeling really guilty, like, I think the mom needs to maybe back off a little or,
yeah.
Just because it was the daughter's idea, like he said, so
true.
She feels bad about it. That's tough.
I feel so bad for the little boy.
I know.
So bad. The top comment is, I'm not going to offer judgment, just perspective. My mom played a prank on me when I was little where she pretended she wasn't my mom and that she's calling the cops to find my real mom. That is so bad. Like, that is not a prank.
No.
That is like psychological torture for a child.
Yeah, that's very stressful.
She was rather insistent on this prank despite me not believing her initially. Eventually, I ended up bawling my eyes out, terrified. This memory followed me into adulthood, and in therapy, it was uncovered that her prank happened to hit the right chords for some issues I was already having.
Oh my gosh.
All this to say, it's really easy to accidentally traumatize a kid, and pranks that involve scaring your children should generally be avoided. I can understand your wife's feelings. So true.
I think about that a lot. I have random memories from my childhood, and even like when I was very young, I have very random memories, and some of them I think were upsetting moments in my life, and I still remember them. So like now, like watching videos on TikTok and seeing, I don't know, parents like messing with their kids, I'm always thinking like people assume that kids don't remember everything from their childhood when they grow up, but random stuff sticks with you. At least for me, like I've That's what I've found.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I heard trauma memories, like you remember them way more clearly than other types of memories. That's so sad. That story, the top comment story reminded me of, I don't know if I already told this on the podcast, but something similar when I was in third grade, literally third grade. You're probably 9 years old in third grade. We were doing times tables, and this is stupid, but the tests were timed. So like you had to fill in like the times tables, like the 7 times tables, whatever. The faster you did it, the better score you got. So like if you could do it in 10 seconds, you got a better score than in 15 seconds, which is so stupid because that's not even teaching you a lesson.
Right.
That's just like making you memorize it, but not actually know like what it means.
Right.
Like you should be able to take time to think, but like whatever. That's my first problem with this story. But my teacher would be like, 1, 2, 3, go. And then everyone would start. And I remember this one day when we were doing our times tables, she's like, 1, 2, 3, and like I put my pencil as a 9-year-old kid on the paper and started going, and I guess I went before she said go, and she was standing near me and she's like, oh my gosh, you started early, and she's like, you're a cheater, like she's like, you're cheating. Literally, I shit you not, she started going, cheater. She was standing right next to me. And
I don't know if I've heard this just from you or if it was on
the podcast. Yeah. She was like, cheater, cheater, and then she like kind of like motioned with her hands to like get everyone in the class to chant cheater. And I started crying. And I shit you not, I have one memory from the entire third grade, and it's that.
Yeah.
It's like the times tables test and her getting the entire class to chant cheater. And I'm like, how do you feel about yourself? Like, and I still remember that to this day. And I'm like, I don't know if I went home and told my parents that. Like, I probably didn't. Or I know my mom would be like in the principal's office being like, what the hell? But if someone ever treated my kids like that, I would never, like, that would make me want to like change schools. Like that is so horrible, and to like treat kids like that and have absolutely no consequences. And I literally remember that to this day. And it's so funny because, well, it's not funny, but my parents went to a fundraiser recently, and a lot of people from our hometown just happened to be there, and they said that they saw my third grade teacher, and she came up to them and she was like, oh, I remember, like, you're Kelly and Aaron's parents,
you're
like,
the cheaters parents.
Yeah, literally, you're the dumbass little cheaters parents. No, but like she was like, oh, how are the girls, like, how's everyone? We went to a really small school, so a lot of the teachers, like, you remember them forever, and they remember a lot of the families. So anyway, my parents were talking to them, and I was like, it's just so weird that she definitely does not remember that, like, at all. And to her it was like a joke or like a prank, and to me I'm like, no, you're so horrible. Like, that is such a horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm obviously, like, I don't care for myself. Like, I'm like, whatever. But I care for myself now. But like, when I think about 9-year-old me, or like if it was 9-year-old you, I'd be like, what a fucking crazy bitch.
Yeah.
And that's horrible. And she shouldn't be a teacher if she does shit like that to students.
I know.
And I'm like, what if I saw that woman and she was like, hey, how have you been? Like, and I'm like, oh yeah, third grade teacher, right? I have one memory of the third grade, and this is what it is. How does that make you feel? Like, and not that I would want to like have her like feel bad about it, but it's just like, that's so sad.
I just feel like some people don't understand like how far their actions go and how much they affect other people,
especially when it comes to kids.
Yeah. I have a lot of weird memories of teachers doing like crazy things, and thinking back, I'm like, how is that allowed? And yeah, like you said, there's no consequences, and they're a teacher, you know, in charge of these kids in their formative years, and they're thinking that stuff like this is okay.
Yes.
And like, I respect teachers. They have a very hard job, underpaid.
Oh my God. Oh, of
very
course.
Stressful, long hours. I respect them a lot, but like, I just have some experiences that are just so crazy. Yeah. And I feel like if they happen like now, and I haven't even really been out of school for like a very long time, but if these things happen now, like, I don't know, they feel like borderline illegal.
Yes, yeah. And like, obviously it's not all teachers, but there's like a few, like, over my whole life, my whole school career, there's like 2 or 3 teachers where I'm like, that was messed up.
Yeah.
And that was one of them. It might only be 2 that I'm like, genuinely, that was like really fucking bad.
Yeah.
That you just did that, and I have no remorse for you. Like, and that was one of them. But I don't know, no remorse is like dramatic. But
yeah.
yeah, it's like those are your formative years, and you don't know, like, as an adult who went to school, like, and you're so educated and you went to school for education, you don't understand that making a joke like that to a 9-year-old isn't okay.
Yeah.
And I think, like, maybe this is like a hot take, but we went to Catholic school, and because it's a private school, it's smaller, you can just get away with more.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm not saying that teachers do, but like if something like that were to happen in a public school, the school's big, like they have a lot of resources, and they just reach so many people that I feel like a public school, and it's also a government like business, basically the public school system, it just would be like they would be fired for something like that.
I was gonna say, like Catholic schools I don't think could afford to fire someone.
Yeah.
Because they don't really have like many people at their disposal to then fill in like mid-school year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like also just because it's a private business, so like in a private business, like you really can do anything you want. Like even like back in the day, like they would physically abuse students like with a ruler or something, and like that was just okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I feel like you can get away with a little bit more in a private school, but a public school is like, that just would never fly. At least not today. Not today. Because there would be a video of it and everyone would be like, are you crazy? Like, why are... Yeah, and like not saying that I think this teacher's career should have been over. Like, sure, she made one mistake. Like, I'm not saying she's a bad person, but it is just like interesting to think about when adults do these things, it does stay with kids literally forever. And like, I will never forget that. But I forgot everything else she did. And it's like, doesn't that say something about how like careful you have to be around kids?
I know. Like even like babies, like I think I've said this before, but I was a psychology major in college, and I'm a nurse now, and I took like pediatrics and psychology courses for like nursing.
Yeah.
And even like newborns and babies, like pre-toddler, like actual babies, like so much stuff that happens to them affects like who they become and their development. So it's like I don't know, I remember, I'm calling myself out now, but I remember one time my little sister Julia, who I've also mentioned before, I'm 6 years older than her, so I remember when she was born and when she was a baby, and I don't think I truly understood like that a baby does not understand life the way that I did as a 6-year-old. Like I thought when she cried, I'm like, she knows what she's doing, like she's throwing a tantrum, but she's just a baby who's crying because she's hungry, like it's a instinct. I didn't know that. Anyways, I just thought she could handle like jokes and stuff, and I remember I was 6, and one time we were going to the grocery store and she was asleep in the car, and I woke her up by going boo. And she was like, she did like one of those baby reflexes where they get startled. And I felt so bad. My mom got so mad at me. And I'm not saying that affected her, because I can guarantee she doesn't remember that at all. But things like that, if you do them enough, or like, I don't know, like those kinds of things, even to babies, can really affect their development. And it's really interesting, and people don't realize that. So they think kids can handle a lot more than they really can, because they think it'll go out of their mind, or they don't understand it, so it won't affect them, or they won't remember it. But like, I don't know, like, you got to be careful.
They can handle it, like, quote, handle it, but it's like that affects how they're going to handle everything else for the rest of their life, which is insane.
Right.
Oh my God, I'm literally sitting here being like, I will never prank my kids.
I know.
I will never make a joke to them.
Know.
Like, wait, so sorry, Julia. I'm so sorry. I remember you guys with a few of your cousins on your other side were on a family trip, and you guys convinced Julia when she was like 5 probably, or like 8.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, she was older.
Yeah. Her name was actually Cornelius.
Yeah. No, she...
And she was very upset.
Yeah. I think she low-key knew it was a joke, because she was laughing the whole time.
Okay.
And she was telling everyone, my name's Cornelius.
Oh, okay.
But she'll still talk about it now. Yeah. Like, she remembers, like, you guys tried to tell me I was adopted, and like... my real name's Cornelius, and I came from a cornfield or something like that. Yeah, she remembers it. We laugh about it, but yeah.
I also think it's different. Like, maybe this is just not true, but from a psychological standpoint, but I feel like it's different when it's kids doing things to kids rather than adults doing things to kids, because adults are supposed to be the people that protect kids and like do everything right. And I know that's not always what happens, sadly. badly, but like your teacher, like, or your parent or something, like you're supposed to be able to trust them with everything.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to always make the right decision, like in the mind of of a kid. So when they're doing something so bad or mean or like taking a joke too far, it's like it feels so much worse than another kid doing it, because another kid is just like you. But an adult is like, I feel like the way that kids see adults is just completely different.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, so like, obviously everyone messes with their siblings or their friends at some point, like growing up, but it is sad when it's adults making these decisions about joking around with kids, like telling a kid, I'm not actually your mom.
I know.
And I'm gonna call your real mom. Like, that is so sad.
Wait, you know what is, I just saw yesterday, of course on TikTok, but it was really interesting. It was an artist who was an art teacher for, I think she said 3rd grade. And there was this little girl, they were making sculptures, and she told the kids to make a sculpture, like a doll, or I guess, you know, like, did you see this?
I saw this. Yes, continue.
And the little girl made a sculpture of a woman who actually was like giving birth.
Yeah.
And she had 2 masks that she made for the sculpture, and one was happy, and the other one she didn't describe as sad, but she described as confusion.
Oh, did she?
Yes. So a lot of people were commenting that it's really interesting that she sees the opposite of happiness as confusion.
Oh, and she was saying, like, basically she would, if we saw the same video, the person said that the little girl, like the 4th grader, 3rd grader, whatever, put the mask on the mom and was like, the mom is happy and then the baby's happy, but if the baby's confused, the mom, like, I forget, but she like used the emotions to like contrast each other, like the mom's emotions and the baby's emotions.
Yeah. And people, of course I can't form any, I already said this, I can't form any original thoughts, so I have to go to the comments to see how people interpreted this. People were saying that this little girl, she was 10, she witnessed like postpartum depression. But she didn't describe it as like depression or sadness. She described it as confusion. And it was like when the baby's happy, the mom feels confused, or sometimes the baby feels confused when the mom is happy. And it's it's interesting because I remember sometimes like as a kid, you would get in trouble and you didn't know why.
Yeah.
But you'd get yelled at. So it's like you're not even sad or angry. You're like just confused.
Yes.
And a lot of people were saying like, I can relate to this.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so interesting.
Oh my God, that is so interesting, because that you just said that when you would like get in trouble, you'd be confused. And
not all the time. Sometimes I totally knew what I did.
For sure. But sometimes there would be like, and I remember in 7th grade, I have a very weird memory. Like I remember almost everything, like specifically too. Like I have like vivid memories even since preschool, like daycare. Like I remember what the inside of my daycare looked like very vividly. And how old are you when you go to daycare? Like 1 to 4, and then you go to kindergarten when you're 5. So like it's really weird. But anyway, I have a memory from 7th grade. Our teachers in Catholic school, like they were all great, but I do feel like sometimes, and this is probably all people in general, there would be a lot of days where we would joke around with them and our teachers would be in like this like great happy mood.
Yes.
And then to a little, like from a little kid's perspective, it seemed like in like an instant they would go from joking around with you to being like very mad, or like, no, you're not allowed to do that, like now you're in trouble. And I remember, okay, this is like just another problem that I don't think they do this anymore, but when I was in grade school, they would discipline us by telling us to go out in the hallway. So like you had to go sit in the hallway and you weren't allowed to sit in class, and you'd have to sit out there for like, I don't know, 5, 10, like 30 minutes. And my one teacher one year, she had this policy where she was like, go outside and like say like X amount of prayers or something like that, because it was a Catholic school. So we would do that, but then sometimes she would just say go outside and she wouldn't say an amount of time. And one time a girl and I got sent out, and a kid's perception of time is so skewed. It felt like we were out there for like an hour and just sitting out there talking to each other, and we're like, we can't go back in because our teacher told us to come out here. And then I think another girl came out what felt like an hour later. It was probably like 20, 30. It could have been an hour, but
yeah, who knows?
I don't know. If it was actually an hour, it probably would have felt like 5 hours to a 4th grader. But anyway, another classmate came out to go to the bathroom, and they were like, you guys can go inside, you know? Like she wanted you to only come out here for like 3 prayers or like something like that. And we were like, why did she not tell us? And I went home and told my mom that story. And my mom was furious because she's like, it is not safe for you to be in the hallway alone with no supervision supervision.
Yeah.
Just like in the middle of a school, like you don't know who is coming in and out of the school, like walking down the halls. Like, and I was like, wait, that's so true. As a fourth grader, like you shouldn't just be in a hallway with no supervision. Anyway, so then in 7th grade, I remember it was one of those times where everyone was like joking around with the teacher and we're all just like talking, like having what seemed like lighthearted fun. And then I said something and I remember she was like, don't talk back to me. She was like, you know what, go out in the hallway. And I literally, because I think she said like, oh, don't say that. And I was like, what? And she was like, don't talk back to me, for me saying like, what? Because I was like confused.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay. And then I went out in the hallway and I had to sit out there for, I don't remember how long. But in my mind, I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like everyone was talking and joking lightheartedly with our teacher that we adored. Because I loved that woman. Like she was never like that. And then like something, I guess, just like made her mad. And it seemed like I was talking back to her.
Right.
But in my mind, we were all joking together. And it's sad that like when things like that happen, because if that happened to me now as an adult, I would have gone back into like any situation and I would have been like, just so you know, I wasn't trying to disrespect you. Like, did I say something, or like, was there a reason why like that came off wrong and you got upset or like whatever? But like as a 7th grader, you can't say that because then it's talking back.
But you also like don't know how to express it.
Yeah, exactly.
In that way.
Yeah.
And
so
the teacher
true.
won't see you as an equal.
No, not at all.
Either, so it's also hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so much to all of this.
And I remember like even then thinking like, how is that talking back? We're just talking. Like, what's the difference between talking and talking back? And I feel like we never, like, that was never explained to us.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was just, like, depending on the adult's mood.
Right.
Whether it was, like, talking or talking back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I genuinely am like, what? Like, to this day, I'm like, why did she get so mad at me for that? And it's, like, sad to think that, like, I don't know. Yeah, kids are literally confused a lot of the time.
Yeah, and it's tough, like, if you don't lay out boundaries for kids and then you yell at them for crossing boundaries that they don't know about. Like,
so true.
What does that do to them?
Yeah.
Like,
it makes them scared.
Yeah.
Because then, like, the next time, I mean, I don't really have any memories other than that about that particular story, but it's like, the next time we're joking around, I wouldn't be surprised if I was like, I'm not saying shit, because I don't want to get, like, yelled at for just joking just like everyone else is.
Right.
Yeah. So weird. And I'm not trying to hate on teachers, because, like, obviously, everyone snaps sometimes. I probably snap at people all the time.
Yeah.
But it is, like, you just spend so much time in school when you're young and growing up that so many memories are formed in schools, and they involve teachers.
Right. Teachers, I think teachers really make you who you are. Like,
yeah, totally.
I feel like I've seen it before where, like, someone has said teachers more so than even your parents.
Yeah, you really do spend more time, especially when you're young like that, because you go to bed early and you're in school for 8 hours, so you're with your parents from like 3 to 8 p.m. or something, and then you're in bed, and then you're waking up and going to school. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I feel like I'm hating on, like, I don't know, like that 7th grade teacher that I had that yelled at me, like, that is the only negative memory I have of her. I adored her, and everyone did. She was a great person, but that was just so confusing.
Yes.
And it's so relevant to what that little girl was seeing.
Yeah.
Because, like, in my mind, I would just be like, I would see it the same way as her.
Confused.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I have memories of teachers yelling at me, but I adore those teachers to this day.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I have had so many amazing teachers that I still think about, like, almost daily, because I just loved them so much.
Yeah.
And I understand it's a stressful job.
Oh,
like, you gotta yell at these kids.
They should
sometimes.
have like 4 teachers in one classroom for some of the things that were going on.
Yeah.
Because how can one person handle it? Yeah.
Kids are wild.
And also, I definitely have memories of teachers yelling at me, and I'm like justified. Like, I was doing something bad or not following rules. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But there are a few times where I'm like, okay, like, you know, like, I didn't have bad intentions. Like, I just didn't know what was going on in this, like, setting. I don't know. Another memory I have, actually, maybe this was in 3rd grade, or it might have been in 4th grade. I forgot. But we were reading a book, like, out loud, a textbook, and I could not for the life of me, like, find where we were.
Oh, no.
And then I was like, everyone was reading in unison. Like, I don't remember why. But the last line was dry your hair naturally. My memory is so bizarre. Like, this is the shit I remember. Everyone reading out loud about how to save energy. And the last tip was dry your hair naturally. And I did not find where we were in the page of the textbook until naturally. And then it ended. And I was like, oh, okay. And I remember thinking, thank God she didn't call on me and, like, tell me to read that, because I would have had no clue what was going on and I would have gotten yelled at. And I'm like, isn't that so sad that that kids are so scared of getting yelled at.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like really forming how I'm gonna raise children one day. I'm like, how can you like discipline kids without yelling at them?
Well, there's like a whole thing on that I've seen on TikTok. Literally, that's all where I get all my information. But it's called gentle parenting.
Yes, I saw that too.
Yeah. Some people are really against it. I think it seems like it would be beneficial in the long run. I don't know though.
I don't know too much about it, but it's like you can because I think people get mixed up with like not disciplining your kids and gentle parenting, but it's like no, gentle parenting, you're still disciplining them. They can be in trouble, like whatever. You're just not like raising your voice when you do it, I think. Yeah. I don't know exactly, but like that's amazing.
Yeah. And it's like it seems like they have conversations about just like what the kid is feeling to avoid the feelings of confusion. Yeah. You know, like they explore like, okay, well, are you angry right now? Are you sad or are you happy? Like, did you not mean to say something mean because you're happy and you didn't realize that it came off mean? Yeah.
I love that.
Or I've even seen things that are like, okay, do you just want to talk and me to listen, or like do you need a hug, or do you want advice?
Yeah.
Those things, I like those. Those are cute.
I hope this is like, I don't know, like obviously less parents would have parented like that like 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I hope that this is like the evolution of like healthy parenting. I don't know. This is so funny that we're talking about this because on our last, I don't know what episode it was, but we did Am I the Asshole Kids, and we were talking about how we would be raising, and we're like, we are not parents. No. So this is just like an outsider's like irrelevant perception of parenting. Yeah. I also want to clarify, if I was a teacher, I feel like I'd lose my patience so often.
All the time.
Yeah, so I give them props, but it does make me sad that like schools don't have enough resources to like give teachers help so that they're not like in these really stressful situations. Because I feel like if there was just more teachers, they would have less stress, and then it would be better probably for everyone. Yeah. Okay, I'm never making a joke to a child ever again. Well, the story that we were reading was, the dad pulled the prank on the son. Well, after deep diving into that,
child psychology.
Exactly. He's definitely an asshole. Yeah. And the mom's in her right to be mad. I don't know how long she should dwell on it. Like, obviously, that's a hard thing to get over, but it's like, how many times you're going to be like, well, you shouldn't have done that. And he's like, I know, I'm sorry. Yeah. And then she's like, well, you shouldn't have done it. And he's like, I apologize. I fucked up. And then, yeah. Remember that top comment about the I'm not your mom prank? Replying to the I'm not your mom prank, someone said, my mom would do this whenever I came to the front door instead of the back while playing in the yard. She wouldn't let me in and pretended I didn't live there until I went around to the back. I hated it. What was that supposed to teach me? Nothing. It was entertainment and I wasn't in on it. So fucking
That's
sad.
so sad.
Shit like that is absolutely cruel. It's like people just forget what it's like to be little somehow. I'm sorry that happened to you. Shiz. I am literally never gonna make a joke to a child. Oh my god. Damn. Bruh, it's just a prank.
Yeah.
Frick.